Given the letter written by Stalin to the chief ministers of non-BJP ruled states and the kind of response that he's managed to elicit, especially from the Kerala and the Delhi chief ministers, does it look like chief ministers of non-BJP ruled states are launching a collective war on the governors? And do you believe that there is sufficient justification for this?
I think, there is sufficient justification for it because we've seen that governors today are acting in a political manner. First of all, they are political appointees. And what has happened in the past is that active politicians also have been made governors and they have come back to join political life, like Mr. S.M. Krishna. See, there is a difference between the post of president and the governor. Both are figurative heads, but the president is elected with the help of the party in power, whereas the governor is sort of throttled down or appointed by the central government. Today, most of the governors, though they have limited powers, are using their powers, whatever they have, to meddle with the affairs of the government and are not passing bills like in the case of Tamil Nadu or Kerala. Delhi is a different example because Delhi, there is a bit of a gray area between the rights of the LG and the chief minister. But in other states where specifically non-BJP chief ministers are facing issues with respect to their governors, I think that there needs to be some sort of a committee like we have for a CBI director or a Chief Justice of India, where the state government in power is also consulted before appointing any governor, and governors should not themselves be allow themselves to be used as political tools by the central government.
Governors should not allow themselves to be used as tools by the central government. But the opposition would argue that the experience so far has been very different. K.C. Mittal, let me come to you now. Looking at it really from the constitutional and legal standpoint, this is a debate that has gone on for years now, if not decades. I just want to quote to you what the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister and DMK President M.K. Stalin has said. Amongst other things, he says in his letter to other chief ministers that the sovereignty of the legislature is supreme in any democracy. No appointed governor shall undermine the legislative power and responsibilities of the elected governments. Now, this seems to be a growing chorus among non-BJP ruled states and chief ministers, including Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who seem to believe that the centre is constantly meddling in the affairs of the state governments and using their appointees in Raj Bhavan as tools for that purpose to further their agenda. Are governors in India adopting an increasingly obstructionist role? How do you see it?
Neha, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I think you have rightly put things. Let me first point out the fundamental principles as have been enumerated in the Constitution of India, where there is compartmentalization of the powers. Now, we are a democracy where the elected government has all the powers. Just look at the President of India. The President of India acts on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. Nothing independent, except, of course, in a few cases which are provided in the Constitution. In the same principle applies to the states. Governors are, if I may put it with due respect, the kind of decorated head of the state. He doesn't overreach he cannot overreach the government, elected government. All powers rest with the elected government. That's what the democracy is. The governor by himself or herself has no power. As a matter of fact, in the Constitution of India, the governor has to act on the aid of advice of the Council of Ministers, and it has been held by the Constitution bench also in Arunachal case, where ultimately the government was installed. But let me tell you one thing. I don't know why and who would respect the law and the Constitution. Today it's being flouted. My learned friend also made this point, and let me make it clear for Delhi also. the impression as is given is not correct. The Lieutenant Governor in Delhi also under Article 239 AA of the Constitution of which India, it has not been amended so far. He has also to act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers in all transfer subjects except 3 subjects. Therefore, neither the Lieutenant Governor Delhi or any other state or the governor has any independent power running parallel administration. They have only to go according to the state government. But unfortunately, all that is not happening. My friend rightly pointed out that normally the governors or the lieutenant governors used to be the senior retired bureaucrats, because then they used to go according to the constitution, and in some cases even the retired judges also. But today the things are different. They are more political rather than showing their allegiance to the Constitution of India, although they are under oath. But it's being flouted day in and day out. Thanks to all of them, when they realize their responsibility as governors or the lieutenant governor. But as long as there is no check and balance, or as long as the Supreme Court doesn't question them or settle or point out, as in Delhi case the Supreme Court has done it, on what basis and of which authority you have appointed 10 members to the MCD.
We've seen that there has been a running battle between the Delhi government and the Lieutenant Governor for many years now. But now that we see many of these chief ministers of non-BJP ruled states actually coming together over this issue and urging each other to adopt similar resolutions in their respective state assemblies, the question is, how is this really likely to pan out politically? Again, a rallying point for opposition unity, as it were?
I was actually coming down to exactly that. Yesterday it was Congress's caste census card. Today we're looking at Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin urging his counterparts of non-BJP ruled states to adopt a similar resolution that the Tamil Nadu Assembly did. And rightly so. It's impossible for me to not look at it under the lens of the 2024 general elections as well. M.K. Stalin has been rallying his own support down south. K. Chandrasekhar Rao. I mean, we used these particular 4 figures in our background over here, but we must add there are other couples here as well. I remember when Jagdeep Dhankar was the governor of West Bengal, his skirmishes with Mamata Banerjee were quite
endless battles.
Were making the headlines.
Yes.
You know, the law and order situation, and it goes on to show that if you do your job well as a governor, you get elevated. He's now the vice president, isn't he? But at the same time, you know, both our panelists on the show as well are talking about how these are figurative heads with not a lot of power. On the other hand, there are some exceptions as well. In the Northeast, governors have had some extra powers. The governor's rule, if you take a look at what happened in the Congress's era, the one-party dominance, and now what we see right now. During the Congress, it was almost 1.1 governor's rule as per data each year. Now that doesn't happen anymore. But in the recent times, those tensions have again risen up, and the public psyche, the optics in front of the public, that is what matters. If you take a look at Arvind Kejriwal, who's denied his trip to Singapore, where he was going to showcase the Delhi model, but the governor comes and clamps down on that visit. He's like, you're not supposed to go. If you want to go, send your send one of your ministers. The chief minister shouldn't go. And the governor, like rightly pointed out, in the constitution and in terms of the compartmentalization of powers, has to work on the aid of the Council of Ministers, which is headed by the chief minister. But right now, what we're looking at, the chess pieces, the political chess pieces at play for everybody to consume out there is that Tamilisai Soundararajan not giving assent to bills for KCR, somebody like R.N. Ravi for the longest time. And the minute M.K. Stalin passes that particular resolution, the same day he passes the resolution on a ban on online gambling. So there is pressure also. And M.K. Stalin has shown that this, as an example, this works. Putting pressure on the governor really works. And ahead of 2024, it is certainly another rallying point for all the opposition parties, especially the non-BJP ruled states.